Well, guys, welcome once again to Fusion Pro Wrestling. I'm Chocolate Pain Nelson Rahi, and let me introduce you to Questions With, which is our brand new spanking feature, which is going to be awesome because you get the chance to send in your questions to Fusion Pro's top stars, and you can ask them whatever you like. And we're going to moderate it slightly and just eliminate some of the crazier questions. But I'd like to introduce at this time my fellow broadcast journalist, the sensational Sam Owens. Sam, how are you?
Hello, Nelson. How are we?
Good, really good, thanks. Great to.
I'm good. Are you enjoying your COVID-19 break?
Yes. I wonder where you're going
Yes.
with that. So I haven't got COVID.
Perfect.
Yeah, no, it's cool working from home and working on loads of wrestling stuff with you guys and putting out content like this, which is really good fun. So
Yeah, definitely. I love to give the fans as much content as we can. Obviously, it's a difficult time for the whole world at the moment, so we've got to do what we can, eh?
Agreed. Yeah, man, this is what wrestling's all about, entertaining the masses. But I mean, this feature is going to be amazing because I mean, I think this is such a great opportunity for anyone who's ever followed anything to do with Fusion. If you've ever watched any of our shows and you've seen any of our guys on, I mean, some of our wrestlers are just off the chain. They're just so talented, and this is such a wonderful opportunity for people to really get under their skin and find out what they're about. So people have been, Sam, as you know, I mean, people have been asking all sorts of questions across Facebook and other social medias for Fusion Pro, and so we've collated all these questions, and it is our great honor actually to introduce the wrestler today who's going to be involved in this, who we're going to be interrogating, the legendary.
Oh no.
Oh yes, who's going to get interrogated. All the way from Pearl River, Mississippi. He is the former CCW World Champion. It is, of course, Pastor Everett Teague. Pastor, welcome.
Hello, Nelson Rahi. Hello, Sam. How are you this evening?
I'm
Fantastic.
doing well, thank you. Yeah, doing
It's an
well.
honor.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm doing all right. Especially in these uncertain times. But of course, with the Lord behind us all, we know we will pull through this times and situation together.
Fantastic. Absolutely. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you for your prayers and for beating up the sinners as you do. Pastor Everett Teague, one of the most dominating pro wrestlers in wrestling on the British wrestling scene. And so, as you can imagine, we've had such a response in terms of questions. So I know, Sammy, why don't you go from the top of the list and let's get this started.
Sure. So obviously you are called the Mouthy Messiah. So I'm sure the fans would love to hear some questions. So first question is from actually some of our roster at Fusion Pro Wrestling. So if you own Fusion Pro, what changes would you make?
Changes. I'll tell you this for certain. A certain someone wouldn't be champion anymore, and I can tell you that it's Brian Stone. I do not believe that he has defended his title enough, whether it be COVID-19 or not. He should be defending that title at all times.
Wow. So okay, that's strong. So Brian Stone coming on scrutiny. So if you were the owner of Fusion Pro, you would enforce that, would you?
I would enforce that he would either immediately retire that championship and allow it to be competed again, or he would have to compete to defend that title once again next month.
Next month, wow. Okay.
Even with this pandemic?
Even with the pandemic, there are certain things that we can do, different countries that he can defend it in. He could come to my great United States of America and defend it there, but of course, he wouldn't. He's too afraid to defend it anywhere else apart from Fusion Pro Wrestling.
Wow, strong words, Pastor. I mean, I think if Brian Stone were here, he'd probably argue the fact that we're not allowed to fly currently, and you might suggest he'd probably swim across. But I mean, I'm sure in due time there will be an opportunity for you to raise that, if anything, and we can maybe explore this rivalry some more because it is a great rivalry.
I think he also holds a grudge against Brian Stone, to say the least.
Well, let's put it this way. I defended that title how many times? 10, 15, 20?
More than Brian Stone has.
More than Brian Stone in less time. Now put that into perspective, Nelly.
Well, no, okay, it's a fair point, Pastor, but I do think, had we not had this huge global interruption of this pandemic, Stone would have been defending it pretty much every Fusion show. I'm confident to say, but obviously it is what it is, and here we are. So I mean, I think factually you are correct, of course, but we'll have to see when wrestling returns, when we're able to get back in the ring. I'm sure you guys will be squaring off against each other at some point.
Let me tell you this: I've got bigger fish to fry than Brian Stone.
Wow. Pastor Everett Teague.
Inside scoops.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Can you clue us in as to what you've got cooking?
No, that's none of your business.
Nelly.
That's my business and Jack Thorne's alone. But I'll tell you this: another thing that I'll change is that hardcore prototype championship.
Interesting.
Jack Thorne is he's supposed to defend that title 24/7. Not that I'm going to challenge him for it, but where's he been? He's been hiding again.
Oh,
now
wow.
I've instilled great values into Jack Thorne. I was a fighting champion.
You taught him better. You taught him better than this.
I'm very disappointed.
Oh,
wow. Trouble in paradise there. Wow.
Could we see you going for the hardcore championship by any chance?
Like I said, bigger fish.
Oh.
Fair play. Okay, well, thank you, Pastor Everett, for answering that so vividly. We have another question from the roster at Fusion Pro Wrestling. Who, in your esteemed estimation, who is the least holy in Fusion?
Ooh.
Least holy.
I've got a good guess on who he's thinking.
Who would you say, Sam?
I'm guessing he thinks Brian Stone.
No, wrong.
No. Oh,
Creeper.
Sorry.
Creeper is the least holy. Wow. What makes you say that?
We haven't met yet in a match, but I'll tell you this for certain. He will know what the true holy of holies is when he comes across me.
Wow. Fair. Okay. I have to say I sort of agree, because I mean, looking at the man's face and the terror that it inspires, there's very little that's holy about Creeper. Let's be fair.
I mean, yeah, to say the very least.
Let's just put it this way: I'm not afraid of face paint.
Wow. Okay.
Wow,
Pastor
okay.
Everett Teague.
Right. Well, but leading on to the next one, from Alex Roberts from Facebook. Is the pastor planning on opening up a church in North Wales or a Sunday service in his name?
As you know, with COVID restrictions, that would be impossible at the moment, but I'm looking into it.
Okay, the Church of Teague is growing.
Maybe
we could
go to that church.
I wouldn't count on it.
Oh no. Okay.
Okay, I love it. We have another question, sir, from one Luke Hodgson. Will you venture through the Motoverse?
I'll tell you this for certain. Luke Moto, you wouldn't stand a chance against me, and I proved that last show. I saw you in the crowd after being eliminated in that Rumble, and I came right towards you and you did nothing. You just watched as I slapped you silly.
Wow. I think we caught a glimpse of this, didn't we, Sam? When
there's a I'm not going to plug the man, but in his vlogs, there's a clip of Mr. Pastor Everett Teague slapping Luke Moto, and not just Luke Moto, but Joey Marcus, the pirate, as well.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. 2 big slaps from Pastor Everett Teague. So
big meaty slaps, meaty hand slaps.
Yeah. So I think that question from Luke is perhaps a little bit just trying to rile the good man here, the good pastor. I think.
Don't wind him up.
No.
We're conducting this interview with Mr. Pastor Everett Teague, okay? So we have another one from Mr. Owen Roberts. What does the pastor think of Gustan Las Lamparas?
Forget about Gustan Las Lamparas. I'll tell you about Owen Roberts, only flipping Owen Roberts. He used to be the host of this show, and I'm so glad he's finished. Because, let's be honest, Nelly and Sam, you're both doing a good job.
Well, but thank you.
That's very kind, but we love Owen Roberts. You know, he did such a great... the Fusion Pro show...
He's a fraud. He's
what?
A fraud.
He is a fraud.
And so is Gustan Las Lamparas.
Quantify that, sir. How is he a fraud?
He's unholy.
The things that he talks about, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's the same with Gustan Las Lamparas. Same old thing with Brian Stone. How many times has he defended that title in the space of a year? Once.
Wow. Well, okay, Pastor, I think at some point we're going to have to get you, Owen Roberts, and Gustin Laslan-Paras on the mic together, and we'll have to thrash this out and get to the bottom of it because it sounds
That'll be
like,
the day. That
yeah,
would be
Be
the day.
too afraid to face up to me.
that's fair. I couldn't blame them, to be quite honest.
Wow. No, I don't blame them either myself, to be honest. I can see
No.
why Jack Thorne reached out to the pastor.
Yeah, definitely. There is something, if you'll forgive me, Pastor, there's something slightly dark about that arrangement with you and Jack Thorne. Potentially, yeah, I don't know. It just seems a bit uneven, shall we say. Is that fair for me to say?
No, Jack Thorne knows exactly what he's gotten himself into, and I'm sure he appreciates the things that I do for him.
Choice words, what he's got
I
in
know
himself.
I would. I know I would. I appreciate you just being on the show, Mr. Pastor.
Thank you.
I have to say I do as well. I mean, you very rare to find such a complete wrestler as Pastor Everett Teague, but respectfully say I probably wouldn't have the stomach to sign up with you.
Listen. What was Jack Thorne doing before he aligned himself with me? Nothing. He was a loser. Now look at him. He's a champion in his own right.
Champion. Yeah,
I mean-
I can't argue with that.
I turn losers into winners through the power of the Lord. And that can be undeniable.
Okay, I love it.
It's a fair point.
Yeah, can't argue with that, sir. Pastor Everett Teague. Sir, another question for you from Mr. Lucas Ford. No, sorry, I do apologize. From Mr. Leon Cowell, sorry.
Oh my God, you amateur, Nelson.
Reading ahead. How do you treat Jack Thorne on the ranch?
Listen,
Ranch.
On the ranch.
first of all, I'm not on a ranch. I'm in the Mississippi Bayou in my own little log cabin. Jack Thorne isn't here, and I'll tell you that for certain. Otherwise, possibly I would be the hardcore prototype champion.
Ooh,
But
wow.
Jack Thorne is back in Wales. I think he may be lurking around Janvervechen Town Hall,
Yeah.
possibly
What
hiding.
play?
Disgusting.
It
I can't
is,
believe
isn't
it. Every time there's a show and I get called on by Dick Chambers to come to wrestle, it's in Janvervechen. I hate the place. I hate the people, and I hate Wales.
What? I mean, okay, I have to sort of ask you about that. I mean, why do you hate Wales if you've set up camp in your church?
Sinners. They're all sinners, and that's why I need to make this church happen. It's the only
Wow.
way to purify Wales.
And your method of purification is literally to beat people, isn't it? I mean, that's...
Nelson.
What? I'm asking questions. I genuinely want to know your method here.
That's not my method of converting them. That is their punishment for not taking on the Lord. Have I ever beaten Jack Thorne? No.
Not publicly.
What did you
Nelson.
say?
Just hypothetically.
Right, move
Anyway,
on.
yes.
So a question from Lucas Ford. Where does the good pastor stand on Romans 9 and what the? Would you like to say this one? Yeah, I'll let you
Yeah.
say this.
So, Pastor Everett Teague said, what do you think of Romans 9 and predestination? For anyone who doesn't know, I'll just quantify this. Predestination is the idea that the Christian belief that you don't have destiny as such, but God still knows the end from the beginning. So just for anyone who doesn't know.
Wow,
Listen.
you're dumb.
The Lord guides us in our life. There's a helping hand at every point of the way. Lucas Ford, I'm sure you know for yourself, if you were to follow my teachings, you'd know exactly where I stand on Romans 9 and predestination.
So, okay, that's fair. So it's up to Lucas Ford really to come to your church, listen
he's
to your
supposed to.
sermons. Yes. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, right. Well, I'll take this one then, Nelson, if you don't mind.
Please go for it.
Okay, so from Mr. Ben Shirt, what is the pastor's go-to method to convert sinners? Do you convert sinners?
Yes, I do. Whether or not it's happened yet is yet to be decided, but I will pass on my teachings to anyone who's willing to listen or anyone that's in the local vicinity. See, I'm that loud, I can carry my voice through a town hall, spread the message through people's ears, into their mind, into their heart, into their soul. And that's when the Lord shall grab them and take them as one of his own. That's when I know that I have converted them to see the true light of the Lord.
Fantastic,
So
thank you.
So there is a reason to the Mouthy Messiah nickname then?
Listen, I do not like that nickname, but it's gotten me far, and it's a good way of spreading a message.
It's Nelson that came up with that nickname.
How dare you? It wasn't me.
Anyway.
My nicknames aren't that clever, so it can't have been me. But no, I appreciate the answer, Pastor, and it's good to know like how, the strength of your voice and character is your method for converting sinners. So that's interesting. So Ben Scher, I mean, that's another potential sheep in your flock.
Ben Scher is already a sheep in my flock, and he knows it. He's just asked that for me to be able to spread the message even further. The outreach of my message shall reach the far ends of the globe.
Wow. Okay, Ben Scher. Wow.
Pastor, another question for you from the legendary Dave Lewis. And he asks very respectfully, who is the good pastor's favorite opponent?
No opponent is a favorite of mine. I go in there to fight. I go in there to wrestle. I go in there to spread my message. Like I said, whether or not they choose to take on my words is a different outcome and a different story. But Dave Lewis, I respect you as a person. You always come and you support me. So I'll answer you this way. I believe my favorite opponent, or the person that's offered the best fight to me, is Leon Hunter.
Oh, wow.
I had a match against Leon Hunter in, I believe it was Llandudno. In one of the shows there, and that was possibly one of the hardest matches I've ever wrestled in.
That's a huge compliment.
And obviously I came out victorious. But again, my message spreads, and I retain that title.
It's interesting that you mentioned Leon Hunter, because a shout out to Fusion Pro Virtual, but in your flock, so to say, in Fusion Pro Virtual, he is a part of the Church of Teague. Is this something you would consider in the future IRL?
Of course. Leon Hunter has got a lot of character. He's just been misled, I believe. He needs to be steered onto the right path, and I believe that I could help him. Leon Hunter has been on a bit of a losing streak recently, but like I said, I turn losers into winners. Just look at Jack Thorne.
I've got to say, the prospect of Jack Thorne, Pastor Everett Teague, and Leon Hunter in the same sort of faction focuses aligned. That is terrifying. That is powerful. So, man, that's interesting. I mean, one day when we get Leon Hunter on here, I'm sure, Sam, you and I can maybe put that to him and just see what his thoughts about that would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's just say Fusion Virtual isn't just a video game. They take in real analytics and data.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, that's interesting. Maybe art mirroring life there, perhaps.
So, from Josh Nelson, what does Everett Teague like to do on his days off to relax?
What I like to do on I don't relax.
You don't relax?
No, I do not relax unless it's a Sunday.
As mandated by the law that God handed down, right?
Of course.
Okay.
He also asks with that question, it's a silly question really, but what is the pastor's favorite pot noodle?
Listen, I've heard of these things. We don't really have them in Mississippi, but when I come down to a Fusion Pro Wrestling show, I believe I've seen Jimmy Big sitting in the corner eating about 5 or 6 of these. I went straight up to him, grabbed one of them from the side, looked him in the eyes and said, I'm having this. I was quite hungry that day. And apparently they need to put hot water or something, so I microwaved some water.
So you mean to say he was sat there eating them dry?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, with the little pouch with the sauce or something.
Yeah, that's right.
Crunching away. But obviously, I'm a bit smarter than he is, so I put some hot water into it and wait a couple of minutes. And I believe it was a Bombay Bad Boy. So I've got to say my favorite pot noodle is a Bombay Bad Boy, Josh Nelson.
Wow. Do you like a good Bombay, Nelson?
Only on the weekends. I mean, moving on. Anonymous. So this person did leave a name, Pastor Everett Teague. Thank you for that answer, by the way. That's brilliant. Good to know. But this person asks, Teague, and this is worded as he said, Teague, how do you feel about remaining a religious lifestyle while also being so violent? So worded it strangely, but how do you maintain your religious lifestyle while also being so violent?
Listen, I'm not violent at all. The things that I do have a reasoning behind them. You see, I'm not the one attacking these people. I'm not the one inflicting the damage. That is the Lord. The Lord is my sword, and I, its shield, its protector. See, I shall defend the Lord. And if someone is to attack me, then it's up to them what happens. All I can say is that I know what's going to happen to them.
Cool. Right, so moving on, we've got a question from Jeff. Pastor Everett Teague, what are you running from in the Mississippi Delta to hide in North Wales? Are you hiding from... Wow. Okay. So
listen, I'm not hiding. I'm here right now in Mississippi. It's 2:30. So, it's a bit coldish here at the moment. It's not too hot, but I'm definitely not hiding. If I was hiding from anything, it'd probably be hiding from this virus that's, strangled itself around the world.
I did want to ask this. On one of the recent Fusion Pro shows, it was reported that you actually had COVID-19. Is this true?
What? Really?
Yeah, there was inside scoops, but no one's. I guess no one covered it up. But it was only Flipping Owen Roberts that did report this. So.
Oh, really?
I didn't
Wow.
believe it. Yeah, I didn't really report it too much. But
fake news.
Fake news. I thought so. He's a little scoundrel, that Owen Roberts. I'm glad he's not doing this show anymore.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
You guys are harsh. I love Owen, and just for the interests of journalistic sort of freedom of the press and all that. I mean, I'm sure he's got sources. I don't know. Right.
Excuse me.
Yeah. No, that's okay. Are you all right there? Do you want a glass of water there?
Yeah, I've got one here right now.
Perhaps some vitamin D tablets.
Nelson, have you got your mask?
No. Hopefully you can't get it over conference calls. But anyway, we hope you're well. We will pray for you, Pastor Everett Teague. But Sean on Facebook, he asked, what is your training regimen like?
Training? I don't do any training.
You don't do any training, sir?
I wake up in the morning. I eat my grits. I pray. And I thank the Lord for what he's given me. See, I don't need to train. And I've got the Lord behind me. And that's what I've been trying to spread the message on, that the Lord can unlock something within you that will allow you to be and to unlock your true potential.
Wow, okay. So one from Kyle here, and he's you've already really answered this, but Pastor, what has been your favorite / best match in Fusion Pro to date?
Just because I said Leon Hunter in the last question doesn't mean I had my favorite match versus him. Like I said, he took me to my limits, but that is not my favorite match. My favorite match is when I picked up Pequeno Loco, hit him with the Pearl River driver. The referee counted 1, 2, 3, and I was your CCW Welsh champion.
You actually hit him so hard, his name actually got changed.
I mean, that was such a brutal move, the Pearl River. And, on Pequeno Loco is no lightweight, by the way. He was a worthy champion. And obviously, he's gone on to be grand champion and, and Grand Slam as well. He's won everything there is to win in this company, which is nuts. The first man ever to do so. So for you to conquer that mountain, Pastor Everett Teague, says so much about, your wrestling prowess. So, tell us about that CCW match. You won the Welsh Championship against Pequeno Loco. What was that like for you?
What was it like? It was at that moment that I realized that the Lord truly was behind me. I knew for that moment that I was one with the Lord. and that I realized that I was involved in something far greater than myself. That title win enlightened me. It opened up my eyes to see the real world, to see how engulfed in sinful desires everyone else was. And that's what made me do the things that I have done, and why I need to spread my message.
Wow. Okay. So winning that was sort of a validation from God that you're in the right place and you're doing the right things.
Exactly.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Well, the next question then from Reverend Whittle, I believe. Pastor, what are your thoughts on the Protestant Reformation?
Reverend Whittle, if he actually purports to be a reverend,
no.
I'll only answer his question if he can prove that he is a reverend. I only speak to people about these things if I know that they're worthy to hear the answer, and I don't think that this Reverend Whittle is worthy to hear what I'm about to say. And what I'm about to say is, I'm not going to answer it.
Wow, okay. To me, that sounds a little bit somewhere down the pipeline as Pastor Everett Teague versus Reverend Whittle.
A dream match.
Yes.
Dream match.
Hitting each other over the head with communion wafers. There's wine everywhere. But yeah, sorry, Sammy, go ahead.
Okay. Right, so from Jack Thorne, what was it like to win and retain? This is a silly question, considering sees you all the time. But what is it like to win and retain the CCW Welsh Championship for as long as you did? Jack Thorne, goddamn.
Jack Thorne, why are you asking these questions? Don't be stupid. You know exactly. But for those who don't know, it felt good to be the CCW Welsh Champion. I defended that title possibly more times than AJ Hughes when he won it in CCW. I possibly defended it more times than Keith Matthews in his 2-year run. And I can tell you this for certain, I defended it a lot more than Brian Stone.
Wow, fighting champion. It would be interesting if we looked at the stats one day and just find out who has defended it the most. That's a big claim, but to be fair, there's probably some credence to that because just thinking back, I mean, it sort of makes sense. But yeah, that's cool. It's a good answer, and I appreciate that. That's
Nelson, next one for you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So another anonymous person didn't leave their name, suspicious, but they ask, sir, who would win in a fight, Noah or Moses?
Moses, next question.
Okay.
Okay, so from Becky, Pastor Everett Teague, what are your thoughts on the Fusion Pro Grand Championship? Will we see you challenge it for it again soon? Now, I just want to say, Nelson did say before you joined this call, he's glad that Paquena Loco actually beat you at Uncivil War.
Wow, we're allowed.
Said what?
Thanks for that, Sammy. I mean, we're allowed to. But Pequeno Loco is a really, really good wrestler. He's a wonderful role model for people, not just children, but people generally watching Fusion Pro Wrestling. And that's something the world is sorely lacking.
So is Pastor Everett Teague. He's trying to spread his message.
Yeah, but
why is he back to that?
In a really violent, shouty, deep South American way. I don't know. Like, I kind of prefer a slightly.
Listen, you've invited me to this show and you're trying to offend me, and I do not appreciate.
I would never try and offend you, sir.
Nelson.
Would I do that? I'm down the line, right down the middle. I'm right down the middle. But no, your take is always appreciated, Pastor Everett Teague. We love the way you do things, but also a little bit scared of you, and I think that's the thing.
My thoughts on the Fusion Pro Grand Championship is I'll see what happens after Creeper faces off against Pequeno Loco. I'll reserve my judgment until then.
I'd just like to make a prediction. I think I do believe that Pastor Everett Teague will be Grand Champion with it by 2022 when we return. I do think he'll win it by 2022.
There is no question that Pastor Everett Teague has everything it takes to be a grand champion in Fusion Pro. There's no question. Like, one of the best competitors all round that you could meet anywhere.
Definitely.
Just moving on from that then, from someone called Mason. Mason, how do I join your church, please, Pastor? He asks.
Oh, it's Mason Toombs, isn't it?
Maybe.
Is he trying to? He's trying to get in your church again, Pastor.
He's tried plenty of times, and I've told him no. several times. Mason Toombs is the only person that has been banned from the Church of Teague.
Really? What did he do to get banned?
He knows exactly what he's done.
He's a strange one, that Mason Toombs, you know. He is. I don't blame you for banning him.
You might have to get a restraining order if this carries on.
I'll set Jack Thorne on him.
And some holy water too.
I mean, I think Mason Toombs could do with the holy water. So from Lenny, who has been your toughest opponent in Fusion Pro so far? We've already had this answered.
Yeah, Leon Herner.
Okay, that's cool. Kevin, 22 from Leeds, likes to put a lot of detail in Kevin. Do you have any nightly rituals?
Kevin, 22 Leeds. Not really, no. I'll just go to bed after praying.
Fair.
So, oh wow, okay. So
it is a pastor's duty, you know, occasionally.
So Lance, who's age 56, asks, oh wow, this is a sin in itself. Will you marry me or my fiance?
Oh, just to quantify this, I don't think he's asking Pastor Everett Teague to marry like some sort of weird three-way marriage. I think he's asking Pastor Everett Teague to officiate their wedding, their marriage. He wants Pastor Everett Teague to be the reverend, the minister.
Have I read this wrong, Nelson?
I think you may have.
I'm sorry, Pastor. He's asking, will you officiate his wedding or her wedding? It's 2020.
Of course, if they pay the right fee, I'll happily conduct the marriage.
Okay, thanks,
Nelson.
Lance. Good news, Lance. Okay, one more question here from Ben. Does he feel that wrestling is a good gateway to get young people interested in religion again?
Of course. I mean, you look at any type of show that we've done over the past 2 or so years, the amount of kids that have been there. You know, wrestlers have a huge effect on these people that attend, whether or not they be young, old. You know, wrestlers have this outreach, like I've said before, to spread their message either for right or wrong. You look at the Anarchy Boys, and they're trying to spread their sinful ways. You look at Brian Stone trying to spread whatever he's got. And then you've got me. I'm trying to spread the message of the Lord. And it's harder for me to express my ways to kids in a way that they can understand. And I understand that I can be a bit intimidating and scary. But as soon as they see through that, they understand that I'm only trying to help them. I'm trying to help their parents, their brothers, their sisters, their grandmothers, their grandfathers, their entire family.
You are a good man. You are a good man for doing such a thing.
That's why they need to join the Church of Teague.
Exactly.
Okay, Sammy, do you want to take the last question, mate?
Okay, so a follow-up from Ben. Teague, where do you buy your vests? Gucci. He buys them from Gucci.
Prada. Definitely Prada.
There's this little store in I believe it's Llandudno. Whenever I come to North Wales, called Primark.
Oh, Primark. Yeah.
They sell Primani things.
Nelson actually owns that shop.
I wish, man. I'll give you a free vest right now, Sam. Don't worry about it.
Why don't you give Pastor a good free vest? Give him your vest that you own, Nelson.
I'll hold you to it, Nelson. Next show, I'll be expecting my vest.
Okay, I'll get you a vest at the next show, sir.
What happens if he doesn't? Pearl River Driver.
Sam, are you trying to get me beaten up by a pro wrestler here?
Listen, no. I just don't like you, Nelson.
Let's just say he'll meet some divine intervention.
Okay, well, on that frightening note, Pastor Everett Teague, it has been a sincere, if frightening pleasure to have you on. This has been Questions with. We're Fusion Pro Wrestling. Check us out on fusionprowrestling.com, and we'll see you next time.
Hallelujah.